Well, thanks for joining. The webinar today is about the value of documenting animal care and husbandry data with an integrated management software. So joining me today is Matt Sanderson, who's in charge of client implementation and training at VSI, and then Valeria Yakovenko, who's our senior analyst and part of our R&D team. And I am Eric, I'm in charge of sales and marketing. So this is our agenda for the day. We'll talk about how we can easily collect data and how do we turn that data around so it works for you. You get valuable information and metrics out of it. We'll share real life scenarios from clients and we'll look at how we can get a lot of tangible value from very simple routine type data. And it will save about 10 minutes at the end of the presentation for Q&A. The runtime for the webinar will be about 40 minutes. So as we seek information and we get questions on the science and operational side, we need to be able to respond quickly. When using a paper-based system, or if we have to go through multiple Excel files or Outlook calendars and whatnot, it can be very tedious and slow. Data needs to be easily accessible so we can make quick and informed decisions. So we've heard of the reproducibility crisis for several years now. And this quote is taken from a recent paper on behavioral assessment in home cages. This is across 21 research sites in 5 countries. And they concluded that many environmental factors can influence study outcome. Some are very obvious, noise, animal handling, while others can be more surprising, like the position of the cage on the rack or the day of the experiment. So this really drives the need to collect all relevant data so we can get full pictures from our animal studies. So how do we go about collecting data? So first, we can really leverage devices and tools available. Things like RFID chip readers, barcode scanners, electronic scales, electronic calipers, and then make use of mobile devices. I'll show you an example of how to do this right after this slide. And then we can use electronic forms to capture animal and facility data. And we'll show you real-life examples during this webinar. Matt, I'll turn it over to you.
So what we're going to do next is show you the enos Activity Assistant. And the Activity Assistant is there to sequence you through or step by step through different activities within the enos software. So during this example, we're going to identify our animals with a RFID chip. We're then going to weigh the animals and we're going to measure the tumours. So in front of Valeria, here we have a cage with animals in it. And you may notice on the front of that cage is a cage label that is printed from the enos software, complete with a barcode. So if you are using barcode scanners or QR code readers, we can also integrate with those devices. She's also got a UID chip reader, but again, if you are using a different type of chip, then we can also work with those suppliers. In addition to that, she also has a Bluetooth caliper and a Sartorius balance. Now, if you do work with Mettler Toledo or O-House or any of the other balance suppliers, again, we're more than happy to integrate with those as well. So Valeria will go ahead and share her screen. So Valeria will then go ahead and open up her Activity Assistant. And from within the Activity Assistant, you either have the option to select a predefined template, which will list all of the activities that need to be completed, or you can go ahead and select from one of the approximately 150 different activities that we have available within the enos software to make sure you've got all of the activities that you need to work through. When you're ready to start, if you go ahead and click the confirm, the software will then ask you to identify your first animal. Now, because our animals are chipped, we can go ahead and scan the animal. The ID is transferred directly from the scanner into the software. And our next process is to weigh the animal. So we pop our animal onto the balance and the weight is transferred directly from the balance straight into the enos software. And then we're asked to move on to do our next activity, which is our tumour measurement. So we then go ahead and measure the length and width of our tumour. And because this is a 2 tumour measurement activity, we need to measure the second tumour. And once all the animal data is collected for the first animal, we can review the information before moving on to our next animal. So then we scan our second animal. And again, we follow the same process. So we weigh our animal, measure the tumour, and the volume of the tumour is automatically calculated by the software. If you do have only one tumour to measure on that animal, we also have other activities for measuring one or more tumours. Once you have completed all of the animals that need to be done, you can review all of the information on the screen in front of you. If you do notice a mistake or there's something to correct, you can edit it directly from this screen. Once you're complete, when you're ready, you can go ahead and register that information.
All right, so how do we go about leveraging the data? One way is to display dashboards that are function specific. What a vet, a technician, or a scientist needs to see is quite different. So for example, a list of animals in a given location, animals with conditions, task list, what do I have to do today? And then make sure those things are done today. And then we can also set up and run simple or complex queries on the data that we've collected. For example, animals remaining on a protocol or animals available for future studies. So now let's look at real life examples. First example that we want to look at is questions would be, how many NHPs do we have with diarrhea and what treatment are they on?
So because each user of the enos software has their own unique username and password, it enables them to have a unique dashboard as well, which is what you see displayed in front of you. That unique dashboard can be configured with a series of different widgets to display only the information that the user wants to see every time they log on. So really the most important information that they want to see every time. So to really answer the question that Eric asked about what animals have currently got diarrhea and what treatment are they on, I have a widget here on my screen showing me exactly that information. That widget is based on a query that is only looking for animals that have a clinical sign of diarrhea. Now on this widget, I am showing much more information than just my animal ID, because I can also configure the software to show me the exact columns of information that I want to see on my widget. So for example here, in addition to the animal ID, I can also see what project or protocol these animals are on. I can also see the cage that they're located in, their current date of birth, and also their current treatment. So I've really got all of that information at a glance as soon as I log on to the software. All of the information that is displayed on the dashboard is also interactive. So if you wanted to look in more detail about the animal, you can go ahead and click on the animal ID and bring up the full details of the animal. Now, as a real life example, if I was the veterinarian of a facility, I've looked at my overview of animals with diarrhea. I then want somebody to perform a physical exam or an observation to confirm that they still have diarrhea. What I can do directly from my dashboard, using the request activity icon that you see at the top of the display, I can put in a request to the team that I want these animals to have an additional observation performed to confirm that they have diarrhea. So again, I can select one of the 150 or more activities that are available in the software, put in that request, and because I've used the request process within the software, that means that the request will go to the appropriate person, for example, the facility manager, for approval before it is then assigned to the correct team or person to perform that activity. And when it's assigned to those people or that team, it will appear in their task to complete widget, which they can also see on their dashboard.
All right, so another very simple question that comes up very often is, when is room number 2 due for cleaning and who's scheduled for that task?
So in addition to animal data, we can also collect lots of other data as well. So if you want to collect data on cages or rooms or racks, for example, you can also do that within the enos software as well. And as we talked about requesting activities a few seconds ago, we can also plan all of our activities from within the enos software as well. So to show you an example, I'm going to go to the activities menu, selecting planned activities. And from here, we can see what rooms we've currently got for cleaning. Because I've used a filter, which is this section at the top, I'm now only searching for my cleaning activities that have been planned from January 24. The filtering of these different elements allows you to see exactly what, when, or who the activities have been planned for. So you have a lot of flexibility to show just the information that you're looking for on the screen in front of you. So to answer a question that Eric asked, room 2 is due for cleaning on January 31st by technician team A, but you can also see some other cleaning activities that are planned for team A on January 27th and 28th, which is rack 2 and rack 5. Now, if I navigate back to my dashboard and just show you my task to complete list, here you will also see that as I am a member of team A, I have those cleaning activities listed on my dashboard here. So I have rack 5 to clean tomorrow, and I have rack 2 to clean today. And if I was to execute these cleaning activities, they would then remove from all of team A's task to complete list, because as soon as one person in the team completes that activity, it's removed from the task to complete list of everybody in that team.
So here is a 24-hour profile of heart rate collected via telemetry in rats in cardiovascular studies. Obviously, heart rate is higher during the nighttime when rats are active. And you can see that on the graph. There you go. At about 10 a.m., there's a peak in heart rate when rats should actually be sleeping. And that's the time of the day when some of the cages or part of the room cleaning was happening. So human activity caused the animals to wake up. It was not a side effect of a new drug being tested. So here's a good example of the value of documenting simple things like room cleaning or cage cleaning. All right, moving on to our next real life scenario. How many C57 black 6 mice between 6 and 10 weeks old age are available for surgery next week?
So looking back again at my dashboard, I have another widget showing just up here at the top, showing how many animals I have available for surgery. So again, this widget is run from a query that runs in the background of the software. And this query is configured to only look for C57 black 6 mice between the ages of 6 and 10 weeks that are not currently reserved for a study or not currently part of a study. All of those queries are fully configurable by you to only bring up the list of animals that you need. But from here, we can then directly access all of that animal information that we're looking for. So if I go ahead and click on my widget here, I'm then presented with an animal selection list along with different information on the animal. So when I've opened up my selection list here, in addition to the animal ID, I can also see the cage where the animal's located, the sex, the weight, age in weeks, strain, and at a glance, I can already see that these animals are not reserved and they're not part of a study. Again, all of the columns of information that you see in front of you are configurable by the user to only show the pieces of information that you want to see when you look at those animal lists. So to give you another real life example, I now want to reserve 10 of these animals for a study starting next week. So I can review all of the information I have in front of me, select the animals that I want to put onto the study next week, and I'm going to go ahead directly and perform an activity. So the activity that I'm going to perform is the study setup activity to assign these animals to a study. From here, I can select what study they're going on to. So I'm putting my animals onto study number 1. The study is due to start on Monday next week. And I can also assign a study head, so the person responsible for the study, and I can also record who the responsible technician is. So in this example, Gareth will be the responsible technician, and apply that information to all of my animals. Now, from within the enos software as well, you do have the ability to notify other people that they have information in the enos software that they need to take note of. So we can then select the level of notification, which determines at what point an email is sent by the enos software to the recipient to tell them that they have additional information in the enos software that they need to be aware of. I can either select an individual member of our team, so one person that I want to send the notification to, or I can select a whole team of people who I need to send it to. So because these animals are going on study, I'm going to select my research team, and all of their names are populated in the recipient list below. Now, when I go ahead and register my activity, because I've selected a high notification, all of my researchers there will receive an email saying they have information in the enos software that they need to be aware of. And from that email, it will bring them back into the software with a link to view that notification that I've just sent them. When we look back at our selection, we can already see that our study reference has already been updated. So we can see these animals are on study. And if we navigate back to the dashboard, you will see straight away that the number of animals available for surgery has already been updated. All of this information is updated in real time. So if anybody else has the same widget running on their dashboard, looking for those animals that are available for surgery, that information will also be updated on everybody's dashboard. So all of the information that you have is in real time.
Thanks, Matt. So here is a question that came from the science side. Some of the scientists asked the animal facility manager, did anything change in the rodent room's temperature, for example?
So as we talked about a few minutes ago, we don't just collect animal data. So if we're looking for additional data on the location or cages, for example, we can navigate to the appropriate menu on our left-hand side. And on this list here, I'm looking at a location selection. So I've got a list of different room IDs, but I've also got a list of their current values entered for their temperature, humidity, lighting levels, and pressure. Now, as a quick overview, all of those values look to be okay. If we wanted to view more historical information on those values, we can go ahead and click the temperature, and the software will automatically graph those temperature values that have been entered. And straight away, we can see here that this room had a temperature of 18 degrees on January the 15th. Therefore, it fell outside of our parameters that we allow. We also have the option to view all of those rooms that we have on display on a single graph. So if you wanted to look at all of your rooms on one single chart, the software will automatically graph all of those values in all of those different rooms. And again, we can see that room 1 dropped outside of our temperature range on January 15th. So what we could do next, for example, is we might want to apply some kind of visual alert to this room to notify people that the temperature is prone to dropping outside of the range. So we can go ahead and add a tag to this room. And just to give you some examples, I've got a range of different tags available here. The color of which and the terminology used on those tags or visual alert is set by you. And what we recommend is you use colors and terminology that people are used to. Because if we get things that feel familiar to people within the software, they're more inclined to use it and will adopt it quicker. Tags can be used not only on rooms, but also on cages, on racks, and also on animals. So if you want to use those tags for things such as weaning or treatments or additional observations, they can be used for a whole variety of different things. I'm going to apply my low temperature warning tag to this cage. And now wherever you see the animal ID, you will also see the blue tag next to the location and know that this room is prone to low temperatures.
So to illustrate this point, we wanted to share a chart that comes from a large metabolic study in mice across multiple sites worldwide. So that study concluded that ambient temperature and specifics of each site are key factors influencing results. And in fact, you see there's a very wide variation of room temperature from 19 degrees Celsius in the UK to 27 degrees Celsius in Canada. And for small mammals like mice, that will have a very large impact on metabolism and energy expenditure. So having this type of environmental data is really key, both on the science, but also on the animal welfare side. All right, so moving on to our next real case study is how many mice are remaining on Dr. Tudor's protocol?
Thank you very much, Eric. So again, in addition to those animal information and our locations or cage records that we're looking at, we also collect details on our project or protocols. So by navigating to our project management screen, already we can see all of the projects that are currently in operation in our facility. If you wish to filter them, you can do so by using the filter section at the top. You also have the option within the software to restrict access to specific projects, and from those projects you can also restrict what animals people are allowed to see or work with directly from within the software. So to answer Eric's specific question on how many animals are we currently got available for Dr. Tudor, we can look at Dr. Tudor's project that we have here. We can see that they were approved to use 700 animals. They currently have 415 assigned, 44 of which have now been used. Now under those totals, you can see that we've automatically calculated percentages of the approved amount used there as well. The benefit of calculating those percentages that we have a real-time census for the number of animals that they have available, the number of animals that they've used, and we can also create automatic alerts using those percentages to create warnings. So you can see here that I've got a warning here at 72%. And if I click on it, I can see that this researcher here has used 72% of their allocated macaques. So we have a yellow warning. If I click on my other warning here, we can see that this user here has used 90% of their mouse allocation and therefore has a red warning. So you can create a traffic light style system within the software, setting the percentage limits that you want those amber warnings or those red warnings to say you're nearly reaching the limit of the number of animals that you're allowed to use. Now, those alerts are not only shown on your project management overview, but if you are using the full process within enos and are using it to order animals, for example, when a researcher places an order for animals, the alerts would also show when they're placing that order with you. If they're transferring animals between different projects, because you've got animals on a breeding project that are transferring to a research project, the alerts will also show on that occasion. Or if you're breeding animals or bringing animals in from an external supplier, when you're entering those animals, they will also show the alerts at that point. So pretty much everywhere that you're moving animals or you're adding animals to a project, those alerts come into force just to give you that heads up warning that you're nearing your allowed limit. Now, there are a lot more other alerts in the software. So if I take you back to my dashboard as well, as an example here, I've got another widget running on my dashboard, which is this one here, my project due date. which is showing me all of the projects that are due to expire soon. So these projects are due to expire within the next 3 months. As part of the iCut committee, I can have this widget running on my dashboard. So again, I've got a heads up that these projects are due to expire and we either need to renew them or they need to be completed.
Okay, so at the end of the day, how does having all this data help? So it really helps on different points, different areas. First is science. We can improve the quality, the reproducibility, and more importantly, we can see the big picture of everything that goes around the animals in the animal facility. We can put things in context, such as the change in temperature or the fact that there's noise caused by human interactions. We can really help with animal welfare, improve the care in the spirit of the 3 Rs. For example, send alerts to notify a veterinarian that an animal needs care. We improve compliance. It makes it easier to address audits and inspections from ICOC or ALAC, for example, when you have that data readily available whenever you get questions. Finally, it helps drive efficiency, optimize processes, reduce waste, reduce animal usage, reduce cost, and save time. And this is something that we've really seen with our clients during the worst period of the pandemic. We heard a lot of challenges around staffing, around accessing animal records and vivarium information, working from home, for example. So having a documented process and management system where you can access the data from pretty much anywhere, anytime, is really useful in those type of situation. So now we move to the Q&A part of the webinar. Okay, so there's a question about breeding. Our facility is mostly breeding genetic mice. Can your software handle that kind of activities? Matt, can you answer that, please?
Yeah, of course I can. So yes, enos is fully acceptable to handle transgenic or genetically modified mice. There is a separate genotype module for the software. And with that, you can also do things like create your orders for genotyping. So we can create your well plate orders. And from that, if you're using the likes of Transnetics to process your genotyping, we can directly import all of that data that you receive from Transnetics or from your lab producing your genotype results and bring all of that software directly into the software without any transcription. So really minimizing any chance for transcription error by automatically bringing that information in.
Okay, there's a question about, is it possible to have someone like a scientist request an action and have somebody else approve it before it's performed?
Yes, yeah. So very much like the veterinary surgeon that we talked about at the very start of the demonstration, it is possible in the software to request, plan, or perform any of those 150 activities that we have available. So the request could be placed by a researcher. It's then approved by the manager or the staff coordinator and assigned to the appropriate team for them to perform as and when they need it.
All right, there's a question about the accessibility on the software on the cloud. You mentioned 24/7, how does that work? So I can answer that quickly. Basically, we host the software and the database in the cloud. We use Microsoft Azure. We've been working with Microsoft for about 5 years. We're part of the Microsoft Partner Network, and we use data centers where our clients are. So for our North American customers, we use data centers in the US, East Coast, or Texas or West Coast, depending on the location. I'm happy to report that in the 5 years that we've worked with Azure Cloud, we've had exactly zero breach of confidentiality or security, any type of issue. The beauty of the cloud is that it's very flexible and you can size the power and the cost based on the need. So you can start small and build up as needed.
What animals does the software work with? So enos can work with whatever species of animal you have in your facility. The software will work with it. We have users that have a small number of mice, rats, etc. We also have users that have primates, dogs, pigs, large animals, and everything in between. So the software is adaptable to work with whatever species that you work with, and the configuration can be adapted for multi-species as well. So if you have your rodents in racks, you then have your dogs in pens, or your primates in mobile racking. The software can work with a whole variety of different cages, different configurations, and different species as well.
All right, well, I don't see any other questions coming up. So thanks everyone for attending. We hope that you enjoy the webinar and you learn a few things. Feel free to contact us if you have a specific project you'd like to discuss. What we typically do is arrange a 20 to 30-minute phone call or Zoom call with one of us. And what we want to do is really find out if we can help you or not. Every facility has very specific needs. So after that, we'll decide if we are a good match for you or not. If not, we'll tell you. And then if we are, then what we do is we arrange a more specific demonstration presentation of the software that's really tailored to your needs and your objectives. So thank you again. Have a great rest of the day, evening, and stay safe.
Thank you very much, everyone.